Guys, so I thought I'd make a really important video, and this topic is going to be about when you sort of void or limbo with your life, where everything's just at stasis. All the problems that you got just don't go away. All the relationships that you have with people don't get better or don't get worse. All the new things that you want to do or all the stuff that you want to experience isn't just being experienced. A lot of people know what I'm talking about here, and a lot of us eventually hit those stages. Those stages doesn't always define as rock bottom and stuff like that. However, I just want to talk about it because I don't think a lot of people understand that that is where the start of something big can be with your life. So if you decide to challenge what defines what moment of life you're in, especially in that void where you want more for yourself, where you're stuck in some sort of cycle, whether, dealing with this, X, Y, and Z, and all that stuff. It's really important that you challenge how it defines, because at that moment, you might be lacking this, and you have this desire, or lacking this fulfillment, and you need this fulfillment. And instead of supplementing that fulfillment in traditional ways that society seems deemed fit, alcohol, cigarettes, and going out clubbing relentlessly and having all those bad habits and whatnot that we know that are bad, but are so easy to resort to, or at least it seems, because collectively, when people do things collectively, no matter if it is right or wrong, we're more likely gonna pursue those actions, right? So, moving this forward and moving this along, when you're in that moment, you gotta challenge it by doing things that truly challenge you to step up, right? It doesn't mean that you gotta go shoot directly towards this person's assumption of what's going on, or you don't have to, follow what this person did. Don't be afraid to look from within and figure it out yourself, right? So good ways of challenging that, the most basic ones are dieting and exercise, right? Well, I don't want to get into that, but I think the ways that we really challenge it is taking those moments and see what's limiting us and challenging those limits. So let's say you're having a challenge. Let's say in that void, you just know you need more money, right? You need more fulfillment with your relationship, right? But you're just gonna have to challenge how much money you can start making yourself and start challenging what you do with your time, really. So if you have a bunch of video game consoles, you have a bunch of knowledge about video games, and you have so many opportunities to buy games from people physically or have your own systems, and you're being willing to sacrifice, big key, they're willing to sacrifice. If you're willing to sacrifice some of that stuff for gains for the future and start challenging your limits and find new things to pursue that are fulfilling as well, that's how you start to get out of it, right? And it's not always easy, but you have to be willing to go through it, because we never know what lies ahead in pursuing that. But we have to make sure when we pursue those limits, it's conducive to what we want, and what we want with our desires and goals, and not supplementing something else that won't serve us in the long run. So it works like that with a lot of things, So let's say you have a really beater car, right? But you know nothing about cars, and you're doomed to do something about fixing it, paying a lot of money to get it fixed or whatnot. Don't be afraid to don't be afraid to challenge that limit while being stuck in that void, and create all this knowledge and retain all this knowledge and become a really good part-time mechanic. Not in terms of for people, but for yourself. So that way, we can tackle more situations that go on in life. Because if there's one thing people don't really see about when they hit these low points or hit these barriers and whatnot, it's a very great way to find yourself finding all the solutions, or just the start of the foundation that could be how great life is going to be after that. But it's up to you to define it like that and find what you can challenge to do that. And the last thing is taking action. I know I always talk about taking action, but I have to say it again. Me making this video right here, creating my own foundation, my own outlets, and taking matters in my own hands instead of sitting there being passive, is how it gets done. So you have to really imply that action, not with just the thought, and not be afraid to be persistent with it as well. But it's tough. You know why it's tough when we're in those voids? Because we're lacking fulfillment and a bunch of things I just said. Right? And I know I also said, yeah, you know, don't be afraid to find other things of fulfillment. But how else are we supposed to fill these voids by human nature? Well, you just can't sit there and just wish for it. You got to go and create it. But sometimes this is the biggest thing that's just stopping us. Because for a little bit of emotional intelligence to be shared here, where we're in those voids, we'll do anything to fulfill it, right? You know, eating these foods or binge drinking, binge watching Netflix and whatnot. But imagine what the byproduct was by binge watching a bunch of educational stuff that's free on the internet. Or, you know, imagine what the byproduct is hanging out with people that are more fitter than you, and that will what you call it? I can't think of the word. Well, it'll be a positive impact, influence, and encourage you to get something more with them, or, you know, challenge them in a sense too, as long as you challenge yourself, right? So imagine the byproduct you could get in those voids once you start seeking things that have positive, I won't say side effects, but I like to think of it as byproducts. So if you don't know how to cook, right, and you take a little bit of time cooking, making more yourself a better asset to yourself, you just learned how to make great food as a byproduct instead of just simply cooking 101 on, you know. What I mean by that is like how long to bake potatoes for, something simple like that. But then it can lead on and lead on and lead on and be the byproduct of something greater, right? So that's what I mean. And you also have to look for and create these. You also have to take these voids and make your own outlets. They're not only going to fulfill this and this, not just emotionally, but fulfill all these things on your bucket list as well. So I think you guys get the point here. I really hope you liked the video. I thought I'd do something a little different where I walk and talk. Besides that, the song of the day is going to be Void by Pouya. And that'll be it from here. So thanks for watching. Hope y'all take care.